Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Today I am scouting waterfowl. It's a beautiful fall day, and I'm going to set up a blind and I'm going to get up early tomorrow morning and get in that thing and hope I get some good waterfowl action. It's November 1st, and I am in Washington State, and we've just had a bunch of cold weather come in, and the geese are really moving. And in this part of the world, we get a ton of cackling geese. We get a ton of snow geese that come from Wrangel Island up north of Russia and parts of Alaska as well. And then a lot of sandhill cranes as well. And I'm out in an area that's traditionally got a lot of geese going through, a lot of cranes going through. And what I'm going to do today, and what I've been doing already this morning, is driving around some farmlands, agricultural areas that are planted specifically for geese on public land, and looking for areas where the geese are really spending a lot of time foraging. That way, hopefully, if you get a good spot that they really like, they may come back in tomorrow. Generally, they're going to go roost somewhere else for the night, or they're going to be moved around a lot by coyotes, different things, flushing them in the night. So, what I want to do is really kind of identify the spot that I want to be by where the geese are and where they seem to be really focused on foraging. And then in the morning, I'm going to come in before light, before the geese, hopefully, and cranes come in, set up my blind in the spot I've already chosen, and wait it out and hope that I get a lot of cackling geese, snow geese, and hopefully some sandhill cranes coming in. Tons of geese are flying over, and I've seen some huge flocks of cackling geese, and there's been quite a few sandhill cranes flying around. So that's my little mission for the next about 24 hours. And like I said, I'm going to take the new Tragopan V7 blind out there, and at the end of this video, I'll go over a little bit of what that blind looks like and how it worked out. And hopefully next time I see you is bright and early with my coffee, waiting for some geese. Good morning. I got started in kind of a rush here this morning. I walked in the dark, and as I was getting my blind set up, geese started to move. And it's about a half an hour before sunrise, and there's a ton of cackling geese starting to fly into the field in front of me. But right now they're about a quarter mile away. They're just kind of arriving from their nighttime roost. My expectation is once more birds come in and they start foraging, they will start marching this way, working their way this way as they forage in the field. So for the most part, I'm going to be probably shooting incoming flight in a lot of my images, birds flying, landing in front of me. I've got a light breeze from the east, which is perfect. The sun is rising in the east behind me. When you're shooting flight, particularly landing birds, having the sun at your back and the wind at your back is really key component of that. So looks like I might have that going for me. And there's a lot of geese coming. We have a lot of different subspecies of Canada and cackling geese that winter and move through this part of Oregon and Washington. Primarily, these are cackling geese that come from western Alaska and from the Yukon Delta, the two main subspecies that are here. And snow geese here are mostly lesser snow geese. These birds are likely coming from Wrangel Island, some from Alaska probably mixed in as well, but probably mostly from Wrangel Island in Russia. Well, there's just been a pretty spectacular burst of morning light, which is a little bit painful because the backgrounds are absolutely beautiful, but the birds are pretty far away. So I tried to do a few landscape shots, but I'm just hoping for some birds to get a little closer in this beautiful light. Mostly it's cackling geese in here so far, and sandhill cranes. There are a few snow geese, but most of the snow geese may be showing up. I hear snow geese coming. Oh yeah, okay, gonna get back to it. Always exciting when the snow geese arrive. Snow geese often arrive quite high in these kind of swirling groups that fill the sky, and then they kind of like tornado down to the ground. And at least a couple thousand just came in a huge group, and again landed kind of amongst all the other ones. It's pretty neat this time of year, especially to see all of the young birds of the geese and the cranes. You know, these snow geese, cackling geese, you know, these are birds that can live more than 20 years, and they go back and forth up to these Arctic breeding grounds and subarctic breeding grounds, and fly south with their young of the year, and those young will accompany them throughout the winter and then head back north with them as well before they start to split up. It's really neat just to see these family groups that have gathered together on the tundra or wherever they were, and now they've migrated south together with their young ones. Same with the sandhill cranes. These sandhill cranes come from coastal British Columbia and southeast Alaska, and a lot of them have young birds with them, which is neat. So while I'm waiting for the birds, I think I'll talk a little bit about my approach to the photography here beforehand, assuming that I'm going to get some opportunities when the birds get closer. So I've got a few different variables at play here. I'm mostly anticipating shooting flying and landing birds, so I'm going to need a fast shutter speed. Something at least 1/2000th, 1/2500th of a second will be nice, and as long as the sun stays out here, that shouldn't be a problem. And as it gets brighter, definitely won't be a problem. So I want to use a faster shutter speed, and then I've got a few things in play here that affect how I'm going to handle that. For one, I've got medium-toned, darker birds in the cackling geese, and then I've got bright white birds with the snow geese. So I need to expose for them differently, and I don't want to use an auto setting. And the reason for that is we've got this bright sky, and then we've got the ground beneath it, and as birds are landing, the exposure would change dramatically on an auto setting, depending on whether you're pointing at the sky or the ground. And I want to be able to just follow these birds as they're landing. So I need to use a manual setting. So what I'm likely to do here is set my shutter speed and aperture depending on the lighting conditions. And that's another thing that will change as the sun comes in and out of the clouds. But in order to quickly change my exposure for the white snow geese and the darker birds, the cackling geese, and to some extent the sandhill cranes, I'm just going to adjust my ISO by a stop. So I know I've got a dial on here, 3 clicks to open up or close down. When the action kind of gets fast and furious, I can make these quick adjustments depending on whether I'm following a snow goose or a cackling goose or sandhill crane. So I think that's the best way to handle this particular situation, where I have the bright sky, dark ground, following subjects across it, and have a mix of subjects that are bright white or dark. So we just need some birds now to come closer, start landing in front of me. That would be nice. The wind's perfect, the light's perfect, but it's wildlife photography, and I am just gonna have to wait it out. So the big groups are just not coming to this side of the field. They're moving around quite a bit, but I think the coyotes definitely have them spooked over here. I did get a little bit of a session for a bit here with both some cranes and geese that were actually landing right directly into the corn stubble that's kind of across from me over here. So I had a few opportunities to do some shots of birds landing, both against the sky and against the distant background a bit. I think I had a couple shots of some juvenile and family groups of snow geese coming in. And this is one of those situations, again, where you take a lot of images because, you know, the pattern of birds or the focal plane, getting different birds in focus changes as they're moving by you. So it's taking a lot of images, and hopefully I got a few where things line up and look nice. And I actually had a couple of close flyby sandhill cranes in decent light, kind of a mix of bright overcast and a little bit of brighter sun. I'm going to sit here for a bit longer. The big flocks are still pretty far out on the other side. I don't think they're going to come over here because of the coyote disturbance. But hey, that's what happens when you're doing wildlife photography. Things don't always work out exactly like you planned. So I'll sit here a bit longer, and once I give up on the light, basically, I am going to grab the blind, take it down, and then I think I'll move somewhere where there aren't any birds present and do a quick run through on the blind for those that are interested in this Tragopan V7. Well, that didn't work out exactly like I had hoped this morning. Most of the conditions were perfect, but the geese did not get into position. And I think it was mostly due to the coyotes, which I think I said earlier. But that's wildlife photography. Some days it works out, some days it doesn't. And I think I got a few decent shots for that brief period where there were some birds dropping into the corn in front of me. And, you know, it's worth getting some of that nice video. There's definitely some nice wide video, I think, of some of these flocks in front of that beautiful fall backdrop. The other thing is just spending that time out this morning. That's how you learn about bird behavior, animal behavior, and observing those birds throughout the morning, seeing how they were using the landscape, uh, different things that affected them. That's what helps you become a better photographer, just by knowing your subjects better. And it's always time well spent, whether you get the photographs or not. It also is very helpful to figure out that spot. It's a great spot, and took some work to kind of figure out where I wanted to be. But now that I know that spot, I've sat there for a morning. I kind of know what to expect for the next time, and I'm certain that I will hit that spot again one of these days. So this was also my first morning out with my new Tragopan V7 blind. So it was a good first test of this blind. Um, it's basically same size and shape as the Tragopan V6. It's a small blind. For those of you that don't know, I'm 6'8", so it probably looks even smaller next to me. But I prefer a small blind as I can use for the most part, where it's you know, can blend into the landscape better, and also I want to sit low. Some people are accustomed to sitting in standard height chairs, but I like to use this low Tragopan cokeless chair to get me a little lower. And this blind for me has always been perfect size wise, height wise for that kind of thing. There's a number of new features on this blind that I like compared to the last version. For one, it's got these telescoping legs on the frame. So the frame actually folds down quite a bit smaller than it did before and fits into a really quite small little duffel bag, which is nice. The main difference is this new window system, and it's the same window on all four sides. And instead of this small square where you change lens panels, you've got a big, wide window that opens and closes. And then that flap lifts up, and you've got your mesh screen. And that mesh screen with the much wider window gives you a lot more visibility. And it also, for video especially, you can pan really far left and right. And when it's windy, not worry about the blind shaking your camera, touching your camera. So you've really got an excellent solution for video now that you didn't have before, especially in windy conditions. When you're really enclosed in the blind in this opaque sleeve, when you really need to be hidden, there's a little zipper on top here that you can open up and close as your peephole. But when you have that mesh screen open, you really can see a lot. And that window is on all four sides of the blind. So I think I'm going to call that good for today. Just a quick look at the blind and a few of the things I noticed that I like about it. And a reminder, things don't always work out, as you probably know when you're out photographing wildlife, the way you hoped. but still a great opportunity always to observe wildlife and bird behavior so you understand things better and can plan better for the next time. So good luck out there. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.